What's up, everyone? Joshua Dobbs here. I'm here with my man Trey Smith, and today we have the honor of sitting down with a man who wears many hats. CBS Analyst, he's the voice of Madden, as well as a Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer. We're here with VFL Charles Davis. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm with you. I'm with Trey Smith. The guys behind the scenes are Vols too. All right, Beach and Thomas. It's an all-Vol party. Well, what can be wrong with that? I'm very, very excited. And beyond that, I'm honored to have me on with the two of you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now, Charles, can you just touch a little bit on how you fell in love with the game of football? I know just myself personally being a Tennessee native, growing up in Tennessee, you're from Elizabethton. What was it like, growing up, experiencing time with the Vols and growing in love with the game of football?
Trey, it was pretty easy for me. I grew up in a house that loved sports. I grew up in a house where my dad was a player and a coach. He's an HBCU quarterback, so he and Josh could exchange a few notes. My dad played at Bluefield State in West Virginia. And so I just kind of grew up in it and was about it all the time. And the beauty was I didn't have parents that discouraged me from doing it. Because many people, discourage you from loving it so much. Like sports, what's sports going to bring? You got to have a future. And my dad always said, why can't sports be your future?
Right.
And boy, he was right about that. So I'm pretty fortunate he and my mom supported that.
Without a doubt. Charles, what was your first encounter with John Ward like? I always heard stories about John Ward. I mean, he's an absolute legend in terms of the VFL space, in terms of media with the University of Tennessee as well. Can you speak a little bit on him?
Yeah, I really can. And for Mr. Ward, the voice of the Vols for so many years, I redshirted my first year. So listening to him when the team was on the road, because back then every game didn't make it onto television. I know. So hold for shock. I get it. But back then they didn't all make it that way. In fact, I'll give you guys a quick one. When I played, they would put the names on the back of our jerseys for TV games. If it wasn't a TV game, we didn't have names on the back of our jerseys.
So if there's no cameras at the stadium, you guys were just played it. It's just number 10 out there.
Big orange and a number. Big orange and a number. For the TV game, you'd have the name on the back of your jersey. And a lot of schools did that back then. I'm not sure why they didn't just go with one and leave it. But, hey, more power to them. But anyway, with Mr. Ward, when the team was on the road, I'm listening to the games, and you listen to him paint that beautiful picture, and you quickly realize you're in the midst of greatness because he's ours. Now, in the SEC, in the South, every school claims their play-by-play person as their person. I mean, Beach would be able to tell you about it all the way through. Whoever it was, Mississippi State, it was Jack Crystal. At Georgia, it was Larry Munson. And at Florida, it was Mick Huber, and right on down the line. John Ward was our treasure, right? He was our guy. And I remember my freshman year as a redshirt thinking to myself, Trey, if I could ever get on that field and have John Ward say my name, Charles Davis from New Paltz, New York, via Elizabethton, Tennessee. If I could ever get that, I knew I was in heaven. And then we played Bama my redshirt freshman year. We beat them there for the first time in Birmingham. Back then we played them in Birmingham. I sound like such a dinosaur, don't I?
That old stadium, right?
And we beat them there for the first time in 11 years. So it was back-to-back years. We'd won in Knoxville in an upset the year before. We upset them in Birmingham the next year. I remember we were waiting for the plane. The buses had landed, stopped at the tarmac. We're waiting for the plane. And Mr. Ward turns to me and goes, Charles Davis, heard your comments earlier this week as we went into the game. I thought you handled yourself nicely. I could have flown back to Knoxville minus plane. I could have been Space Ghost. Brought it on in. Because John Ward had said something nice to me. So there you go. And then, of course, he became a mentor of mine, helped me get to where I am. I won't bore you with that. Many have heard the story. But he gave me my first opportunity on a spring game at Tennessee. Knew I wouldn't be prepared. Had preparation ready for me. Had boards and spotting things waiting for me. Because he knew I didn't know what I was doing. And then mentored me from that day forward. And I just always wanted him to be proud of me. I always tried to keep in contact and make sure I was thinking about him too. Charles,
I know we're gonna hop into your Madden and everything, but I love hearing you tell stories because literally like just sitting in front of the Xbox playing Madden, just hearing your voice, it sounds literally identical.
When we got the job 8 years ago, they were starting something new, as you were alluding to, Beach. Madden wanted now, because it used to be whatever the game was when it dropped in August, that was the game you played until the next August. There were no updates, there were no extras, nothing. And so the Madden people, I wish I could claim credit for it, but the Madden people, they said, hey, let's work on this. So Brandon would do a college game, I would do a pro game. We would meet at the Madden studios on Monday, and we would do updates from the games that were played that weekend. And then by Wednesday, so we would do that Monday and Tuesday. By Wednesday, the updates were available for the player to download right into the game and play immediately. So if you threw 3 touchdown passes that weekend, Josh, we could get that into the game for the very next week. Trey, if you had pancaked people, we could pull that off and get that right into the ball game, so that now it was updated and it was real, and it almost was, it's not live obviously, but hold a minute, we're not saying Trey Smith's stats are the same and we know better. We have now updated them. We've updated team record, how they did, all those other things. And that was an inspired move by the people at Madden. And Brandon and I have been doing that, probably, 8 years we're going on doing this. And then, of course, all the extra that they add to the game with the franchise mode and the legends and this, that, and everything. And I'll be honest and say the most grief I get, 2 things. One, everyone says I criticize them too much for their play selection. And 2, ratings. 1, I own. I say what I say, and people get mad. I don't mean any harm. 2, I don't do ratings. Brandon doesn't do ratings. They have a ratings group, but you want to get people hopped up now. Woo!
Talk about their Madden ratings.
Oh, when that Madden rating comes, I always know when it's out. I don't even have to ask, because all of a sudden things start jumping on my phone. It's like, oh no, here we go again.
Twitter's popping. Every year, Twitter starts popping for Madden ratings.
I will tell you that there is a gold-jacketed NFL Hall of Famer who grabbed me one day and said, yo, who do I need to talk to about my rating? And he's in the Legends game. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, hey, I hate my speed rating. Why? It's not a 99. Okay, why are you yelling at me? Well, you're the only one I know. Okay, can I get you with someone? Absolutely. And then he just grabs me and pulls me close. He goes, hey, when I played, you ever seen anybody catching me in the open field? And I said, no. He goes, then why isn't it a 99? I said, hold on a minute. I literally got my phone, put him on the phone.
So that's not my job. That's not my job.
You guys would crack up. 15 minutes later, and I saw him in the corner, and this is what he was doing.
I wouldn't doubt it. Competitors till the end.
Handed me my phone and said, thanks. I think my rating's going up. There you go.
I was about to say, speed is a receiver or running back?
Running back.
Gold jacket, running back.
Yep.
Was it LT?
LaDainian Tomlinson. Joshua Dobbs. Right.
Whoa!
I figured it had to be someone prideful, but was like the GOAT. Sounds
Joshua Dobbs for the win.
On the money. I didn't get a chance.
Speaking of like calling games and stuff, tell me what is your favorite game you ever called, and tell me why it's the Fiesta Bowl, Boise State versus Oklahoma in 07.
So in other words, I have no wiggle room. It's the Fiesta Bowl, Boise
You have
State.
no wiggle room. That has to be. That was like the most iconic game. That's a game I literally remember sitting on my parents' couch in the basement and watching the entire game start to finish. They're talking about AP leading up to the game. They're talking about Boise State undefeated. And then the Statue of Liberty at the end of the game, the dude goes to the side, proposes to his girlfriend, and he's on Good Morning America the next Monday. Like, I remember everything about that game. So now knowing you called that game, why was it your favorite?
Well, it was my favorite because of so many things that you just talked about, Josh. And it was kind of my introduction to the true big time, because Fox had acquired the rights to the BCS National Championship games, which was the precursor to the college football playoff. So they had the rights, but guess what Fox didn't have? A regular season package of games all year long. So we orbited in out of the outer space after everyone's listened to Herbie and the crew and Todd Blackledge all year. Here comes this crew, Tom Brenneman play-by-play, Hall of Fame football coach Barry Alvarez, myself, Chris Myers on the sidelines. And I know this, fans get used to people they're used to hearing, and you're okay with that. But a brand new group, who are these guys and why are they calling the biggest game of the year? Well, thank goodness the game was great, as you described. Adrian Peterson for Oklahoma had broken his collarbone midseason. This was his first game back. His substitute was all Big 12 that year running the football. Okay? They had lost their quarterback in preseason because of this NCAA stuff, and they brought back a quarterback, Paul Thompson, that they had moved to receiver in the spring. They had to bring him back to play quarterback. And this happened at the start of training camp. He hadn't even worked out all year as a quarterback. So that was Oklahoma going into the year. Boise State, Chris Peterson was a rookie first-year head coach. So they go undefeated. And now we meet up in this ball game. And, of course, it's David and Goliath. You get the whole idea, just as you described. At Boise State, they punched first, they punched most often, and they were punching throughout the game. And they threw in the trick plays. There was a halfback pass for a touchdown, right? There was the hook and lateral out in midfield.
Hook and ladder.
Flip. They had
Coaches
that.
are still putting in that play for end-of-game situations and literally calling it Boise State.
And boom, there it is. And there's the reason why.
Literally.
And they had the advantage. And then Oklahoma made the late run. Here they come. And they got to overtime. And I was watching Boise State. And what little bit I do know about football, I could tell a team that had punched all they could punch, and there wasn't a whole lot left. Right? They had given all they had. And Oklahoma gets the ball to start overtime. And what is the college road? 25-yard line, right? Put the ball on the 25, going in.
Yep.
First snap, they hand it to Peterson, and he waltzes into the end zone. And I said to myself, they're done. Boise gets another shot, but they can't keep going like this. So it formed in my head, what if they score and say, we got to get out of here, go for two? And I posed it as a question.
Okay.
If I posed it as a question, Boise State, I don't know how much they've got left. If they score here, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for two. Boom, they go down, they run their offense, the whole thing. I can't remember. It might have been the halfback pass. And
I think they scored on the trick play.
They scored. It's the halfback pass because they brought in the substitute, who's a backup receiver, really, and put him at tailback, flipped it to him. He throws the pass, touchdown. Now we got a game where they're down 1 because Oklahoma kicked the extra point. Well, I took my binoculars and immediately went down and looked at Chris Peterson, the head coach, and I saw him do this, hold up 2. And I jumped in.
They're going to try and win the football game right now. That's what I'm telling you.
I love that.
And
one of the greatest calls ever.
Statue of Liberty, boom, Jared Zabransky, Ian Johnson, he goes in, throws the ball up in the stands, place goes crazy.
Boise State has won the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Can you believe it?
I won't even bring up Appalachian State, Michigan, the first thing that was ever on air for Big Ten Network.
No, you called that too?
I won't say that I was part of the broadcast team for that with Tom Brenneman and Carissa Thompson. I won't say that. I won't say that Big Ten Network, when it came on air for the very first time ever, welcome to Michigan Stadium, where today the Appalachian State Mountaineers, 2-time defending 1AA national champions, take on the 5th-ranked University of Michigan Wolverines with high aspirations and hopes for not only a Big Ten championship, but a national championship. That's why Jake Long stayed in school. It was Jake Long. It was Chad Henne. And who was the tail? Mike Hart was the tailback. They were loaded. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
My QB coach in college, Coach Sheridan, was a quarterback on that Michigan team. And so obviously it comes full circle. We are playing App State my senior year to start off the season at home.
Thursday night. You
game.
scared the heck out of us, by the way, just so you guys know that.
I know. I know. I still can't go back and watch the game because the whole week I feel like he was just having PTSD leading up to it because he lived through it once as a player. Now he's the coach. He's like, hey, App State, open up the year at home. Underdogs, never can underestimate them.
Well, the thing about that App State program, real quick, they had won 2 straight national championships. So they were a really good football team. But still, should they have beaten Michigan? No, not in the big house, the whole deal. Well, after that, during that season, App State won their 3rd straight. That's how good that team was to beat Michigan. They won their 3rd straight national title.
Now, Charles, I do have one question. In today's day and age, with social media and different level of access with fans, how do you deal with critique and criticism from like fans and colleagues?
Well, it's a great question, Trey, and it comes with the territory. As you grow older, your skin typically toughens up a little bit more. Things that hurt you more younger don't hurt you as much older, or you know how to balance it. Mm-hmm. I was on social media for a long time. I actually made a decision in August of 2020 to get off of social media entirely. And I thought I would have buyer's remorse because there's a lot of great on social media. There's information, there's news. It's up to the minute. You find out things you wouldn't get before. I am essentially the guy now that has an analog phone, and if something happens at 10 in the morning, and I might find out by around 4 o'clock that afternoon. But it also helps me because I feel like I have enough people critiquing me. I have my bosses who give me critiques. I have my colleagues who can critique me. I have myself. And that's good critique. That's really good. You're a better broadcaster when your team wins. I can just tell you, I'm much better. I've gone to airports, and this is no joke, and I can pull people out who can tell you, game's over, right to the airport. I'll be in line to get my ticket, and someone turn and go, oh, I just saw you call the game. You're the most biased announcer I've ever seen. You hate my team. You absolutely hate my team. I'm sorry you feel that way, ma'am. I apologize for you feeling that way. I'm trying to call it straight. You are terrible. Yes, okay, thank you. I say it being funny, but that's the passion that the fans bring to us. And by the way, we as announcers, we should actually welcome a lot of that because that means these people are locked in. They're invested. They care.
Hey, those are wise words. They say the fans were in the stands, man. It wouldn't be as big of a game as it really is. So
God bless them.
The passionate fans, we love them. We love them.
Otherwise we're not.
Yep. Gotta have them. Have them too.
So Charles, I know also with calling football games and everything, you're also involved a lot in the draft and the processes. Talk about how much just over the years the draft and the combine process has changed from your perspective and kind of where you see it going in the near future.
I'll make it simple for both of you. As a player, when I came out in 1986, I got invited to the combine in 1987 in Indianapolis. It was the old RCA Dome. It was that turf that was concrete and painted. Remember those? Well, you guys hopefully missed all of that. It was awful, right? But I went to that, did not know what the drills would be, did not know what was expected of me. There was no real preparation, there was no Mike Mamula breaking the test and teaching us how to do it. There's none of that for me. I didn't pick up on it. A few guys learned a few things along the way. They brought track spikes to run the 40, things of that nature. I ran in my heavy old Nike Air turf shoes. So, I ran a 4.62 in those turf shoes, so I feel pretty good about that. I might have gotten
the light. Did they have the light Adidas shoes for you guys, the little feather shoes they're running now?
Yeah, no. I had those big clod hoppers. Okay.
All black. Cadillac, that's what they call them, right?
If they'd been dress shoes, they would have been Brogans. Okay. So I go to that combine. Fast forward to the evolution of what you see now. You guys can speak to it better than anyone to see what's asked of you, the testing, the demands, but these things are coming. You're preparing for them in your off season before you get to the combine. You're going to these private facilities to work out. You're getting the best nutrition. You're working on the board. so that you're ready for when these coaches ask you about break down your offense, tell me your blocking assignments. What happens here if you see this look? Josh, what happens when they show this look when we overload to this side and we want to run this, and you're taking them all the way through all that stuff. This is the evolution of it all. You guys are the smartest football players there has ever been. Fast forward to the draft. Pete Rozelle was the commissioner of the NFL when ESPN approached him about televising it. And he was like incredulous. He literally said, who would watch that? And then when he finally gave his blessing, he said, well, if you want to do it, go ahead. But he had no hopes that it would be anything. Somewhere, Commissioner Rozelle's looking down at us going, oh my goodness. This is evolved.
It's like the biggest sports event in the spring, isn't it? It's bigger than all the other sporting events, the draft weekends.
I guess, Charles, a little bit with the draft, too. I heard you make a lot of mock drafts. Can you speak on some guys that you thought was going to be a high-round draft pick, ended up being a bust, overall in the draft? So speak a little bit of some guys you've seen.
Trey, it happens for us every single year. Like, you do this, and you go through and you're ranking guys. And when you're doing a mock draft, part of it is your own evaluation. Part of it is talking to people you trust around the league. Part of it is seeing the momentum of how things are going and knowing past drafts, how that general manager handled them, what type of player they may like. I'll tell you about some I missed on in a second. Trayvon Walker, I moved him to number 1 in my mock draft probably a month before the draft.
Wow.
I was one of the early ones to do. I'm not going to say I was the first because who knows, right? But I was pretty early on Trayvon Walker ahead of Aiden Hutchinson. And people thought I lost my mind. But that was based on Trent Baalke being the GM of Jacksonville. If you look at his drafts in San Francisco, Trayvon Walker was Exhibit A. He's exactly what he had drafted high before.
Yeah.
Body type, potential, traits, and I got lucky. Now, how many have I missed? Oh, the list is long. Aaron Curry, who's a coach in the league and a really good coach. He's with the Steelers now. He came out of Wake Forest a number of years ago. And he was and every year you always hear this, he was the safest pick in the draft. There's always one guy who's the safest pick in the draft because we think his ceiling is high and his floor is high. That means he's going to play for 10 years. He's going to be fine. Aaron Curry had a rough go, didn't make it. He was number 6 overall pick. And when he went, it was acclaimed as a great pick. Didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? He was not a pass rusher in college, and he was an outside linebacker. Rule of thumb, Davis, make a note. Don't take an outside linebacker who doesn't rush the passer.
Yeah, give us something positive. Like, give us something where you were spot on.
Okay, are you guys watching Quarterback? The Netflix series?
I've not watched it yet.
When you get a chance to watch it, I think that they did a great job. Of course, it's done by Tennessee Vol Peyton Manning with Omaha Productions. I watched all 8 episodes, and I texted Peyton and said, hey, nice job on Quarterback. Just one question. Is there ever anything you do that's just like mediocre or average? Is there ever anything that's just, Everything he touches is spectacular, right? The reason I bring that up is the year that Robert Griffin III went number 2 overall behind Andrew Luck, Washington drafted Kirk Cousins in the 4th round in that same draft.
Yeah, I remember that.
Lost their mind. People were like, oh my God, this is terrible. You can find the tape somewhere. I was on record as liking the pick because he's going to be better than your current backup. I don't care that he's a rookie. You grow with him. You do things, blah, blah. Did I think we get to this level? Probably not. But I jumped on that pick right then and there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, you got some bangers in there for sure. All right. Before we go, you got the Tennessee Vols repping on your hat.
Yes.
What do you think about our squad for this upcoming year?
I'm excited about them as always. We're excited every year. We're more excited in what we've seen lately. What Coach Heupel and his staff have done, it's just been phenomenal. The last time we felt like that was you guys were there. And then you gave us Appalachian State, scared the heck out of us.
Give you a heart attack.
But you righted the ship and went to Bristol and took care of business and went on in the whole deal and beat Florida and all that. And we were that close. We were right there on the
100%.
precipice. You guys did a wonderful job for us. Last year's crew was a similar crew. Finally beat Alabama, beat Florida. Put ourselves in a position where that Georgia game absolutely meant it's the game of the year, right? The game in the country.
Yep.
That's where this team is.
Yep.
But now they got to go out and prove it again. Last year, I kind of likened them to a little bit like the Lions in the NFL this year. Last year, the Lions were the lovable team coming out of Hard Knocks. People liked them. Wow, they're doing it. And they come out 1-6. Had to resurrect themselves and then finish strong. This year, they're probably the favorites in their division, okay? Now it's a different feel. Well, what we did last year in Knoxville was a little bit like those Lions. This is great. Oh, that feels good. Can we follow it up? I like where Coach Heupel has us. I like where the program is. I like the way we go about business. I'm eager to see Joe Milton follow in footsteps of yours, Josh Dobbs. The offensive line, Trey, it feels to me like we keep building up on that where people are coming in and looking like you and, look like Darnell. And, we're starting to get guys who want to be there and be some bullies up front. I just like where the program is. But where are we? We still got to chase down Georgia in our division, and you never take Florida for granted if you're a Tennessee Vol, that's for sure. And then on the flip side, 100%. LSU, Alabama seems to be the fist fight on the West right now.
That's the craziest thing about our schedule. Like every time you look at it, you're like, okay, we're going to have a good year. Maybe the East is down a little bit, and then you look at just the gauntlet of teams you have to play in the heart of the season. Like this year, they have at Florida, UTSA at home, which is a top 20 team, Texas A&M, Alabama, South Carolina's thrown in there somewhere. Then you get a bye week, and then you play a Georgia team like off their bye week too. It's just like, and everyone, as to your point, like last year, it was, okay, what can they do? They go out, they play so well. This year, it's like everyone knows they're coming. Everyone knows how fast they're going to play on offense. Everyone knows like the deep ball is going to be a thing. They know what to expect. Yeah. And to your point, it's like, okay, can you do it when everyone knows exactly what you're going to do? That's a true testament of a good program.
Well, Charles, just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. Best of luck on another great season in the booth. It's always amazing to see VFLs doing great things and inspiring future VFLs to do the same and follow in those footsteps. But Josh and I just really wanted to thank you for taking the time out. It's been amazing just hearing some of the stories and really all that goes into the daily, day-to-day events of your life.
Well, I appreciate that, Trey. You and Josh, let me tell you something. Having me on, I said in the beginning it was an honor. I mean that. Thomas, Beach, everyone there, all of us VFLs, I appreciate it. But speaking directly to you, Trey, directly to you, Josh, let me tell you something. I'm 58 years old, so I'm a veteran Vol, okay? What you two have done in playing at Tennessee, going to school at Tennessee and grabbing those degrees that you grabbed and continuing to carry us forward in how you represent us day in and day out, we are grateful to the two of you and the rest of the people who follow in your footsteps. Because now when I say University of Tennessee, I get Trey Smith, I get Josh Dobbs, I get these names that come rolling back at me because of what you established. And let me tell you something, that feels good for this old man because you make the rest of us look better by what you do and your perseverance, your stick-to-itiveness to it, like Coach Majors used to say. Josh, what you did at the end of last year with Tennessee, phenomenal. Trey, how you handled draft day and the disappointment there, and then proved the fact where we had you ranked was accurate, not where you were drafted. You make us all look good, and I can't thank you, the two of you, and all the rest of you VFLs enough. Thank you so much.
No doubt, my man. VFLs for life, man. Balls for life. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you, my man.